everybody, to another episode of Multiplayer. I am your host, Guillermo Dorado, and with me today are my co-hosts, Zack Matscanis.
You what up?
And
Nope.
Oh. What happened to Javier?
He died, and then we fired him, and then he got resurrected, and then we fired him again, and then
now
he died
he's back for revenge. So we've locked all the doors, we've boarded it up. Now Javier's not with us today. He is off, I think, spending some time with his family. That or he just doesn't like to be on the show anymore. I'm pretty sure he was talking a lot of shit
like I said,
before.
Fired, died, fired again,
Yep,
died
right,
again.
Right. I like that version a little bit better, actually. Who killed him? You killed him? It was Nat. It was Multiplayer Nat. Welcome, guys. No, we are down a host today, but don't worry. The show must go on, so that's why we are rolling on all 4 cylinders. Well, 3 cylinders. 2 cylinders, really, if you think about it.
1.5 cylinders.
Well, you gotta count the, that's a half.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. So, a lot of things have happened this past week. One of them being Gamescom 2017.
Yeah, just that tiny little conference of like 4 people.
Yeah, super tiny, super small. It's not one of the biggest video game trade fairs in Europe. Not at all. No, that happened. And also the Call of Duty beta. World War II came out. So I do want to talk about that first because I fucking hate it. No, okay, so the Call of Duty, the newest Call of Duty game and the ever fucking spanning franchise is gone back to its roots to World War II, back to what it used to be in Call of Duty 1, 2, Big Red 1, all that stuff. This is not their first reboot into that, into that war.
Right.
This is like the 3rd or 4th iteration now.
Yeah, I think, I mean, they definitely, like, early 2000s, they had several of them, with like Medal of Honor and all those guys, and then eventually everybody sort of
huge thing.
Yeah,
like all the video game industry was doing that.
Yeah, and eventually like everybody was like, stop doing World War II, and then everybody stopped, and now everybody's like, please bring the World War II games back. We haven't had one forever.
Can't please anybody. And then they did World at War, which was like 2008, 2009.
Yeah,
Call of Duty. Yeah, and that one was actually really great. But I was still like seeped in, sucked into the whole Call of Duty franchise at the point. At this point, I'm really over it. Like, it's just every year we're getting a new one. There's at least, I don't even know the correct number, but I'm pretty sure we're up to like the teens now with how many Call of Duties there are.
Oh gosh, I mean, with like little spin-offs and stuff, mobile games, I'm sure it's well into the 20s.
It's so ridiculous. So we got, this is a private closed beta. A lot of people got access due to either pre-ordering it, or they actually sent out, the company sent out downloadable keys for reviewers and stuff like that to get that early access, and so everyone can kind of get a feel of it and see what new changes, if any, have happened. We actually got to play.
Because we're special.
Right. Here's the thing. I played a couple matches. I don't know why. I think my internet connection's real fucked up because it took 6 hours to download the beta.
I think it's just your internet.
I know. I'm blaming Call of Duty for that. That's another thing I can blame for. Now,
what the hell, Activision?
You're right. Give me some things I can get to quickly. No. So finally it downloaded, and I got to play a couple matches, and I'm going to tell you, to me, it felt no different because I literally only got to play maybe a consecutive amount of like 5 minutes because I was dying every 5 seconds, man. And I know
that's Call of Duty.
I know. I know it's like a testament to me being not the greatest like FPS shooter anymore. Like, I don't have all that time to dump into that game. But my God, it's like not even accessible, it feels like, to just a casual gamer.
Yeah, I mean, it's really like you got to know those maps, you got to kind of know the best weapon, and then it's just, I mean, pretty much like 2 bullets and you're dead. Like everybody just kind of uses SMGs or assault rifles, and it's like I was trying to test out a little bit of everything, and it's just like had like the sniper rifle, and I would be really far away, and somebody would still just like spray some bullets in my general direction.
Shotgun from across the map. You're like, how?
That's about the only gun that doesn't do that. But the like the assault rifles, still you just pick people off from so far, and it's just like, well, what's the point of the sniper rifle? It's like,
it's true. Is that so? You went for the sniper then?
Well, like I said, I haven't
kind of a blanket experience.
Yeah, I was trying a little bit of everything. Sure. So I used the snipers, I used some of the assault weapons, and then I ended up going with there's a class in that game that is basically all like it's like the incendiary class or whatever it is, and you get these like explosive shotgun shells. and so I just ran around with a shotgun most of the time. And it's
That
just
sounds
like
about right.
one hit kill with that thing. You just turn a corner, there's a guy, and you just blow him away.
That's the thing too. That's what started turning me off about like Modern Warfare 2, where people were taking akimbo shotguns and they were just like running around, and literally it like spanned a good like 45, 60 feet.
Yeah.
That is like is so long range for a shotgun.
Yeah, and this one, like, because I played it a good amount the other day, and I kept upgrading it, so the range on it got pretty far. So it's like I could just hit somebody, and I also had an upgrade for it where I could just shoot from the hip and not really aim, and my accuracy was really good. So it just got kind of dumb, like how good I got with that dumb shotgun.
So all right, so like the things that like are at least new to me, I haven't, like I said, haven't really kept up with the franchise for a while. But I felt like, oh, they're returning to form, so maybe I should try to check this one out. It might be good because I did like World at War. Some things that were impressive right from the get-go. As soon as you start up this beta, there's beautiful music, but that's kind of what you expect for these war games. You have like these like really like epic, like overarching like orchestral pieces. You know, kind of like the you know campaign, the victory, and like the heroicness of all these scores. Really great. You start up the menu, and you immediately it's asking you to pick a different class. They have class systems now, kind of like in the same facet as like as Destiny, where you pick like your class.
Yeah.
You're not necessarily tied to that though, because you can jump in and out between. So it kind of seems arbitrary.
Well, you basically start off with a class, and the more you rank up, you can like add more classes to your arsenal.
Yeah, but like, why even add a class? Like, why not just like pick your guns? It just seems like you know, there's a spotlight hitting class picking. No, should we fix that?
Yeah, probably so.
Should we do that now?
Timeout.
Yeah. And so so Call of Duty has like a lot of frame rate issues, kind of the same way. Like that was just a kind of a way we're trying to express how it felt like playing Call of Duty. Just like all of a sudden snaps. No, I'm just kidding. That didn't happen. But no, everything was pretty smooth about the game. They do have this weird class system, kind of the same fast as like Destiny, where you pick this whole thing. But it does seem arbitrary to me because you can hop in and out. You know, like why not just like get different guns? You know, like the same way that you used to back. You know, making classes back in the older games. So there's that. The menu, the heads or the screen that you like, you know, before you get into matchmaking is really kind of cinematic. You know, you're entering this sweeping camera shot of this like beach kind of military like situation. What do you call it? Military encampment.
Yeah, something like that.
And then it's the throwing yourself into matchmaking is very quick, very responsive. That's kind of nice, as opposed to like Destiny's really long wait times to get into different games and stuff like that. But it just felt a lot of the same. Honestly, it felt a lot of the same.
Yeah, it's it definitely, you know, it feels like Call of Duty with a different coat of paint on it.
Right.
And you know, I was hoping they were going to do a little more with this one. You know, they took a step back and got away from things like wall running and all that kind of crazy nonsense.
Yeah.
It's like apparently in the future, just everybody can wall run. that's where human evolution's going.
It just became to that point. It became too hard to even play the game because everyone was running around all over the place.
Yeah, it got a little crazy. You know, they're trying to do some like Titanfall kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's just. But anyway, so, you know, they sort of took a step back. They slowed the game back down, which is nice. But it's still just kind of, you know, it still just kind of feels like Call of Duty, which isn't necessarily my kind of FPS. And
not me either.
It's like every couple of years I'll jump in, I'll play one for a little bit just to see what they've changed and, you know, where they're kind of going with the series. And it does kind of feel like the other games in a lot of ways. And,
sure.
And I kind of, you know, at least in the modes that were in that demo, you know, beta,
Sure.
it was
it's the same thing.
Yeah, close enough.
Yeah.
But it didn't feel very grand. You know, something where you know, you're playing like 6v6 matches on like a small map, and it didn't feel like I really liked the Battlefield 1.
Sure.
You know, because it was. Like it felt like this epic war. You know, there's planes, there's tanks, there's people on horses.
In that game.
Yeah, I mean, and you know, large maps. You got snipers over a hill.
Sure,
you know, you're storming into these houses, or you know, whatever the map is that you're on. But you know, it felt like you're actually in a war, and this game felt like, okay, so you know, part of the Allied forces, and there's just 6 of us.
Yeah.
And then the way the match starts too feels very underwhelming for, World War II, where it's just like 6 dudes standing there, and then the timer counts down from 10.
Yeah.
And you're just like, you can't move anywhere. And it's
the
just
only
like,
new thing about that is when you do a melee, you scream.
just
So
like,
so everybody in like the pre-game was like, and just like all screaming. So I was like, that's kind of warlike. You're like,
Yeah, but-
haru, haru, but still
just,
dumb.
if you could do a little more with it, like, if you're, let's say they have a Normandy map, like, let me storm onto the beach, let me...
Oh, like a mini game before even the actual
Well,
game.
even
That'd be
just
kinda
like,
cool.
just bring us in a cool way. There's so many games that do that now where it's just like...
a little cinematic?
A little, like, I think Battlefront does it, where it's just like, your troops come storming into the scene, and stuff like that. Just like it adds a bit more to the element of what you're doing. And it's like, if you're doing World War II nowadays, it's like, go all the way with it, man.
Yeah.
It's like, just have planes just flying overhead, and there was a little bit of that kind of stuff, but not to the point where I felt like I was in a war,
Right.
And you understand it's not like a campaign or anything. It's just like a,
Which I wonder
just
how
their
that is.
multiplayer.
I wonder
but
if there's going to even be like a good... Because they
I hope
haven't...
the campaign's good.
I don't know, man. There hasn't been a really good... Like, people will like argue like, oh, Modern Warfare's campaign was amazing and stuff like that, but like they all bleed into each other for me. Like none of them stick out. Like there's not like a moment that I can actually like recall where I'm like, oh my god, my jaw was to the floor when that happened. Like it's just all...
You don't remember the part where you're just some soldier dude and you go and you shoot some terrorists and a building blows up?
Oh. Vaguely remember that in like every single game. No, yeah, the only other thing that I can like really say that like kind of spreads it apart, it's that separates it apart from other games is the sound design of that game was fantastic. Like it's always really satisfying to hear like the M1 Grand like clip fly out of the gun, that like that kind of like bullets whizzing by you, rubble exploding. It's all very grand and like epic.
It's like, oh, that was pretty good. Like I was wearing my headphones playing
Same.
And I really like that, and I also like when you first get into the game and you're picking your class, I really like the little videos.
Yeah, it did add a lot. I thought
like,
the menus and stuff were great.
Yeah,
like,
it's like those are nice touches.
Right.
But
it
yeah,
didn't last very long.
Yeah, once I jumped into the match, it just kind of felt like Call of Duty again.
Yeah. It's like they were almost trying to trick you, like this is a different experience. Then you're like, oh no, it's the same. Psych. What a bait and switch.
But it's like there's things I like.
What a bait and switch. Sorry. You laughed really hard at that. I'm so happy I did it.
You're fired.
I know. Well, someone has to
Javier.
laugh at my dumb puns. Javier's not here, so like.
No, go join it. He's fired. You're fired. I'm gonna do this by myself.
So Call of Duty sucks.
Moving on.
The last thing I want to say is like, okay, and we'll move on from this. We can go to Gamescom in a minute, but like, with Call of Duty, there's such a spectrum. You have the spectrum of like FPS shooters, and Call of Duty's on one end where it's like 3 hits and you're dead. Yeah. And then you have games like Halo where it's like 17 minutes later and you're dead. Because it takes like just bullet sponges. And like there wasn't much of a middle ground until like Overwatch. I think that has like a very nice kind of sweet spot of how long it takes, how much you have to unload a clip before someone dies. It seems fair. It seems like when you die, it was your fault. Yeah. Unless you're playing on your friend's console who's like 75 million levels ahead of you, and then whenever you die, you just feel like you suck, which is what happened to me.
Well, one thing I noticed with and this will be kind of my last thing, playing a crap ton of Overwatch and then playing a game like this, I remember those times now where I'm like it almost feels archaic going back to those kind of systems in Call of Duty, where it's like the more you play, the more powerful your character gets, which I kind of hate now. Where it's just like you're rewarding, it's good to reward people for continuing to play.
Sure.
But at the same time, if you're some new guy that just came in, you're gonna get wrecked because not only are these people better than you because they've played longer, but they also have more powerful weapons, and it's just like that's totally not fair. And things are just completely locked when you first start playing. It's like, oh, I want to use that gun. It's locked. Too bad.
That's the only way that they're really like creating a longevity for this game, or like
it's
a grinding game for weapons, and you get the weapons, and like now it's a grinding game for skins, or getting the golden gun with like 100 headshots or whatever. It's just
but see, the nice thing with Overwatch is you all the weapons and characters are unlocked from the beginning, and the only thing you're unlocking are skins and golden guns and stuff like that.
Sure,
it's all
sure.
cosmetic. Nobody, it could be your first day playing, and the only thing that, people are going to have an advantage on you is it's just they've played the game a lot,
Sure.
and they know the maps and all that.
Which that I really enjoy too. I think that Overwatch, and that's why it's such a successful competitive game in that whole like realm, is because it is balanced like that, and it feels, and they're continuing to balance with further patches and stuff like that. So I know I need to get. I think you and Javier are starting to win me over with Overwatch, so I might be doing that soon. Maybe it's not gonna be Call of Duty. I can fucking tell you that. I can tell you that.
Yeah,
right
hopefully. I think more games just need to use that kind of. They just need to move towards that kind of game now, where it's just like not necessarily a hero-based game, although I do like that with Overwatch, but just the unlockables need to be cosmetic.
Yeah,
I don't like this like. The more you play, the more powerful your character is, and then you just stomp all these
It's an
noobs.
FPS,
Yeah,
and it's a competitive FPS. I agree completely. So, final word, getting it?
No.
Yeah, same.
If it's on sale at some point, I might play through the campaign if it's good.
I'm sure it won't be.
And it's, it could be. It's like the Battlefield 1 campaign is
But
pretty
here's
dope,
the thing. Battlefield 1, the reason why that game is so successful online is because there are so many different opportunities for amazing, ridiculous kills. I was on YouTube just yesterday, and I saw this one person, this team of like 3 or 4 people, they threw a bunch of C4 under a tank. One of them got in it. The other one waited for, outside with like the remote detonator.
Yeah.
And then the other guy baited, he was in a jet, he baited another airplane fighter to come over towards the tank. So he flew over, and as soon as their teammate flew over, they hit the remote, or the C4, exploded. The tank went up, did a flip, and shot the enemy plane. I was like, God, you can't do that in Call of Duty. And I actually got invigorated. Like, that's a fun game to watch, As a Call of Duty, you just, and they were dead. And he was like, God, I don't know. So, no for me as well.
Like I said, we'll see if the campaign's good. If it is, I'll probably pick it up to play that.
Yeah.
Because I do like, I think like World War I and II are fascinating, and I love playing those campaigns. So
we'll see if they do it any kind of different.
Yeah, we'll see.
All right, so moving on. Gamescom was actually this week. It went from the 22nd to the 26th. It was in Cologne, Germany. It is, one of, if not the largest video game trade show
it's
in
pretty huge.
Europe. Yeah, it's huge. I think last year, 2016, the census was 326,000 people that attended.
I heard that, I haven't been, but I've heard it's just like, there's just so many people there. It's like you're just shoulder to shoulder in hallways. Just like, I can't imagine that many people at something like this. It would just be insane.
Yeah, and the thing is that like it didn't seem, maybe it was just this year it seemed kind of underwhelming, but like, E3 is obviously what we all know to be like the big reveal show. It had a bunch of different reveals, new game consoles, new games themselves, trailers, gameplay demos, stuff like that. Gamescom does have that. They did have a couple of reveals, some new games that are coming out, like Jurassic Park Evolved, which is basically like a zoo tycoon, but for Jurassic Park, which I think that's pretty awesome. Yeah,
and it's made by the guys that did Roller Coaster Tycoon and all that. So like, and I'm a huge Roller Coaster Tycoon fan, like the original one.
Sure. That's like one of the first PC games that I picked up.
Yeah.
That like wasn't a Fisher Price game.
That was Fisher Price, but it's I was so addicted to Roller Coaster Tycoon.
Yeah,
like,
and SimCity, like those, like just like managing a whole park or a city itself are a lot of fun, and it's like it really harkens to like your creativity, and I can't imagine like when you start throwing Jurassic Park, what are they? Dinosaurs. When they start throwing dinosaurs into the mix.
No, they're called Jurassic Parks.
They're called Jurassics, yeah.
It's like, well, look at that big Jurassic Park. It's coming right at us.
No, but the game looks awesome, and you can actually like stage, what it looked like the T-Rex like breaking from its like enclosure and having that whole thing. Maybe that's something that you can stage, or maybe that's something that you have to manage in the park. I think that'd be a really interesting element. But that released, a couple other games were revealed, and a couple other games got new gameplay. One of them one we're going to talk about here in a minute was Super Mario Odyssey. I think, you know what, because it wasn't a huge reveal for that one, so I think we'll start there. Super Mario Odyssey went ahead and got a new level shown off at Gamescom. It was the Luncheon Kingdom.
Yeah.
Very much inspired by Italy and France for their cuisine, their fine cuisine, like love for fine cuisine. And you can tell that from the music too. As soon as you get into the level, you hear like the accordions and that very like kind of French cafe feel to it. Very, very lovely, very lush and bright and vivid.
Yeah.
Level. It didn't. There wasn't really much else to talk about it besides just the aesthetic of it.
Yeah.
You got a new hat. You got Chef Mario now.
Yeah.
It looked great, and I definitely want to explore the city. But how do you feel on like the more? First of all, how do you feel about them showing off all these levels? Are you kind of a little upset?
I mean, some people need to see that stuff. I'm actually trying to stay a step back because I just want to experience that stuff when the game comes out. Like, I really don't want to see too much from it. So I'm kind of trying to stay dark on all that. But
sure. For good reason. I think it's a good idea.
But from what I've heard about that, it's it looks very cool, and people are excited to. Just I think that game is just gonna have so many awesome levels. Like I can't or worlds, or whatever they call it in that game. I'm super excited what they do. Like I feel like every single world is going to be like vastly different from each other.
For sure.
And
I hope that
always
exactly that's
really
what you can
creative.
expect with them. Like they have great level design and they have different ways of traversing levels, especially with this mechanic where you can possess new characters. And there is actually some in this level that you couldn't access certain parts. And I'm sure this is like all over the place too, but you can't access certain parts of the level that are blocked by these cheese blocks. Unless you possess a hammer bro who throws frying pans. So they're actually like having like these themed characters like, for their world. Instead of hammers, you're throwing frying pans. You're a chef. You're trying to get to the top of a mountain which has a big pot of stew and it's like filled with stupendous stew. So it's like a bunch of that like I don't know. I'm really excited. It has a lot of that Nintendo flair. But I do agree with you. Like staying dark is probably best, because
that's what I'm trying to do, anyways.
Right.
So I want to go into that game as blind as I can.
Sure.
That game's gonna be so good.
October 27th. It's very close.
Yeah.
It's right around the corner.
I can't wait.
And I mean, like Gamescom, we're gonna go into this a little bit too. They had an awards, passed out to games, certain to developers and to companies, and Mario won 4 awards by itself. It won Best Family Game, Best Action Game, which I thought was kind of funny. It won Most Wanted Consumer Award, and it won Best in Show for Gamescom. Like, Nintendo, killed it with that game, and they continue to.
And they pretty much were winning kind of the same kind of awards at E3 as well. I mean, everybody's digging that game, that's for sure. But
I'm a little disappointed there's not much of a hub world, though. Or there is not a hub world. It's just you get into your ship, and you go to different places, and they become their own, not hubs, but I don't know. I miss that Princess Peach's Castle and Delfino Plaza.
Well,
I miss those.
I think there might be a little bit of that kind of stuff because they are going back to those kind of N64 kind of roots. So your hub world might even be inside your ship kind of thing. And
well, it is, yeah. I mean, but it's like they announced at Gamescom that there isn't a hub world. It's just you go from That's I thought so too. I was like, oh, there's probably going to be some kind of element since they're going back to those back to roots. Yeah. But no, they were like, no, there's not much of a hub world. The only hub world that you have is the ship, and the inside of the ship is, about as big as our set. It's not very, it's not a huge traversing like a Princess Peach's Castle or a city like Delfino Plaza. But I mean, I'm sure that's not going to be a huge detriment to the game.
I'm pretty sure like each of those worlds are just going to be very vast and just there's going to be a ton to do.
So excited, so excited. Another game, a game that was actually revealed, brand new IP, Biomutant. We watched the trailer just before we started filming this. We saw a little bit of gameplay as well. Got really excited. That trailer when it dropped, it looks great. Essentially, it's the same ex-developers of Just Cause are making a new IP called Biomutant. It's made by THQ Nordic. Yeah. That's who's developing the game itself. Pretty new to the scene, from what you were telling me a little bit ago.
They came around probably about 2-ish years ago, and they started buying up a bunch of, or actually it might have even been a little before that. I can't remember when THQ went out of business. This company started buying up a bunch of THQ properties. Yeah. And then they, probably about a year or 2 years ago, they were like, we're gonna go by the name THQ Nordic, and it's like, well, THQ died. It's not a company anymore. It'd be like if McDonald's went out of business and then this company just decided to start making hamburgers
We're also McDonald's.
Where it's like we're McDonald's Nordic.
Yeah. It's just weird to like ride on the coattails of a company that
yeah, it's kind of
died,
weird. It's a weird
failed.
choice. But then, so they scooped up a bunch of those IPs. Like they got Darksiders and I think Red Faction and a couple other random things here and there. And
well,
really, all they've done is, as far as I'm aware, anyways, is like Darksiders, HD remakes, and stuff like that. Nothing too big.
Gotcha.
And then the company that's developing this game. Experiment 101, if I'm not mistaken, that's their name, and they haven't done anything yet, as far as I'm aware. It's just like a couple of those Avalanche Studios guys, I think it's the
from Just Cause, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was two guys. It was the game designer and game director, art director, something like that.
Gotcha.
And they worked on like Just Cause and Mad Max, which. I was actually a big fan of that Mad Max game. It was pretty dope.
I need to play it. You have it. I think I might borrow it here soon. But Biomutant is an open world RPG. They're kind of marketing it as a post-apocalyptic kung fu fable. It looks really awesome. The main characters are, this is after, I think, the fall of humanity. So now animals have mutated and kind of become sentient. And you control one who kind of is like this mix of like a raccoon, a cat. You know, he's got a bunch of different species, you can tell just in his makeup, but then also a point of the game, you know, it being an RPG element, is that you can actually, you know, genetically splice other animals into your own character in order to get those abilities. So that you can get wings at one point, you know, like, and they can be a whole like slew of different wings. You can get different powers, different limbs. You can even get robotics to augment how you, you know, jetpack legs and stuff like that. And another thing I thought was really interesting with this game as well is they have a combat system. It's definitely the character has two guns and a sword, but the guns themselves are not tied to the triggers. They're tied to the face buttons, which kind of is like to make it a much more accessible, kind of combat-friendly, melee-friendly fighting game.
Right.
But it seems like a hack and slash, and I'm not a huge fan of those because you input a couple of buttons, and the character does a lot of things, but you've just pushed A 3 times.
Yeah.
So I'm a little wary of that, but you know, there's a lot of other things. Like the character creation looks really in depth and involved. You can like change like your fur style, your color. You can change, you know, and that's just separate from like the actual splicing that you also do in the game. And then also, it's got a karmic system, so you can pretty much start, you know, lean either to a more evil or a good path, which then opens up different quests and different characters that you get involved with, different factions. I'm also assuming as well. The map is huge. It's like 4 by 4 kilometers that they were saying, and that's just the above ground map. They have an underworld that matches too. And this seems like very reminiscent, even from the trailer, of a Rare game, like a 90s mascot game, you know.
Yeah, definitely. It has that feeling of like a little Banjo-Kazooie, a little like Beyond Good and Evil as well. So it's I can see that kind of DNA in there, you know.
Nice.
Yeah.
That was a good one.
Yeah. You like that one, didn't you? Yeah. I stayed up all night thinking of that.
Oh, man, it's fantastic. It was worth it. Well worth it. And personally, me, I grew. You know, that was when I was a very new to games. That's when I was introduced to games, was the '90s, and I was a huge fan. Still am of mascot games. It's kind of died out since then. You know, I think Crash Bandicoot was a nice little resurgence of a mascot game that we got to see recently, but. They're not really doing that much anymore.
Yeah, except Mario.
Except for Mario, of course, yeah. And like not even like Donkey Kong really. Like those are kind of starting to die out too. I think the last game was Tropical Freeze.
Yeah. It's a good game.
It is a great game. It was a really fantastic game. But you know, just not a lot of people are taking that kind of route with video games anymore, especially
Nintendo.
with IPs. So it's kind of good to see. Maybe it's because of how fresh this developer and this publisher are, and they don't really have too much under their belt, and they're trying to like maybe make their own kind of brand notice in a different light. I think this is a very risky, strong way of doing that. But
although there's that one for Xbox that they announced at E3. What was that called? Something Tail. Play that Fox.
Something Tail.
Oh gosh.
Oh, I don't know. I don't
can't
think I saw this
remember.
one.
Sorry, everybody. I can't remember the name of that one.
We like to bring up things that we have no idea what we're talking about.
But that's like it's a mascot game. It's Something Tail.
I know what you're talking about. I can't remember what it is either.
We're gonna go with Foxtail. That's not it.
Foxtail.
But we're gonna call it that for today.
I'm okay with that. Foxhound. It was Foxhound. It's another. It's a Metal Gear spinoff, a mascot game, all animals. Really weird. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. So how do you feel about this return to form to mascot gaming or to mascot games?
Well, you know, it's like I wouldn't necessarily call this a mascot game just because it's
sure.
You know, for one, you can change your character to kind of a bunch of different things. It's not like it's just it's got
like a mascot.
It's just just because it's like an animal running around in a world.
You know what? You watch the
thing.
gameplay. It reminds me about Conquer and stuff like
so
that.
I wouldn't necessarily call it a mascot game, but it's like I said, it's got a little bit of that sort of flavoring in there. But it seems like kind of a third-person sort of open-ish world, sort of action exploration kind of game. And obviously we have a lot of those, and this one sounds good on paper, and it looks pretty cool in the trailer, but it seems like for a company that isn't necessarily well established yet,
to go straight to an open world.
It just seems very
ambitious.
Like it seems like they are doing everything. It's like, so you can change your character into like anything. You can go anywhere. You can have all these augmentations, but it's also they're promising a lot. It's just.
I mean, 4x4 kilometer map, that is a pretty big. Big thing to tackle, especially with a new IP. You're having to establish this whole new world that no one's privy to, no one has any idea of, and a bunch of these different game mechanics that they're just kind of throwing at you. I agree. Maybe this is more like they're doing too much and they're going to convolute the whole game.
Yeah, and
that's definitely a worry.
There's augmentation powers. There's guns. There's swords. There's vehicles. There's you have like a good and bad system in there. It's like it feels like they're just promising a lot, and so we'll see kind of how the game develops. It's something where it's like I always go into something a little weary at first because I always hate getting my hopes up for a game and then it's like a big letdown. Seems like a lot of people do that. There's things like No Man's Sky that everybody's like, oh my God, this game's gonna do everything.
That game took a shit on your chest.
But it's like people
they
let their expectations just run rampant.
But that wasn't necessarily the gaming community's fault. I mean, the developers, they said a lot of very exciting things about that game, which didn't deliver. They pretty much was about all false advertising. That's kind of what it came down to. It was a $60 game that should have been $15 because all you do is you go to a new planet and harvest some goddamn crystals. Like, that was all you did.
Apparently it's much better after the newest update.
That's what I keep seeing. I'm still just so weary of it. Like, I don't want to touch
but anyway,
it.
So I'm keeping my expectations in check, and I'll be keeping a close eye on this and seeing sort of how the game develops. And, I mean, if it ends up being really good, I'm all for it because that seems like my style of game.
Same. Yeah, very much so. Yeah.
I'm a very big like Beyond Good and Evil fan. I'm a big platforming fan. So we'll see. We'll see how it turns out.
All right. I'm excited too. I think that the worst thing that this game has to contend with is, since it is an open world and it does have that kind of cartoonish flair to it, it has to contend with, Nintendo's amazing game of everyone's years and probably years to come, Zelda Breath of the Wild. And a lot of people, even the developers themselves, are like, people are saying like, oh, this is very kind of, it's open world. Is there going to be kind of dungeons like Zelda? They keep saying like, is it going to be kind of like this in that aspect like Zelda? And they're like, oh yeah, it's very much Zelda-esque. I mean, when people ask me this question, I like to say it's more Zelda than it is Horizon Zero Dawn because we're trying to get away from linear gameplay. But it's like
there's robot animals in Horizon.
Exactly. You're lying to me, but it's just that they have a lot to contend with, especially this last year. And I mean, other RPGs that are open world, like The Witcher, which will suck the life out of you. And I swear to God, I'm not going to stop talking about that game. But yeah, so like it has a lot of competition, but if it does amount to everything that they're saying it will be, I'm really excited too. Yeah. I'm excited to hopefully see another mascot-esque like game.
Yeah.
Always good to go back to the 90s. Another thing that was announced, Xbox One is finally getting its pre-order, which kind of everyone was assuming was going to happen. Like they were expecting it to be revealed at Gamescom this year. What people weren't expecting were 2 new editions that you can actually pre-order. You have the Project Scorpio edition, which was the original code name for the console.
Which is pretty rad. I
think it's awesome.
Yeah, I don't think any company has released not that I can recall anyways, has released like some version of their system that also used their code name in there.
Well, so a lot of them haven't even had good code names. Like,
Nintendo's had some cool ones, like
the Revolution.
Revolution, which I was hoping they just kept that name.
I know.
But also the
so...
GameCube was the Dolphin, which I kind of wish they had kept that name.
Yeah.
And then I think Dreamcast was Katana.
Ooh,
and it's like stuff
cool.
like.
You think the Dolphin was a good code name?
Yeah.
That was a weird one. The
like
Nintendo Dolphin?
Yeah, I dig
that would not sell well.
Oh.
People were like,
I mean,
they're making animals
anyway,
now.
So
you know,
it's like, might as well just go with Dolphin.
All right. But yeah, so they went ahead and they've announced these two. They're available for pre-order right now at the Microsoft Store, as opposed to, or as well as other retailers such as like GameStop and Amazon, Best Buy. You know, their usual contenders. The only thing is though that they're taking a very Switch-like approach. I mean, like a lot of GameStops are only getting about 14 to 23 units.
Well, I think they're keeping their expectations in check with their X. You know, it's something where it's like it's a premium system, and they know it's a premium system. So they're just, I think they're making as much as they feel the demand will be, and pretty much nothing else, because they know it's just going to be like probably their most hardcore Xbox One fans.
It's selling out though. It's selling really well. They're like pre-orders are kind of hard to get to right now.
But it's because I think it's that limited quantity.
It'll run out and then it'll become
pretty much
a shelf dust collector.
Yeah, well, I think it'll. I think they'll just continue to just do a basically produce it in small batches. You know, I don't think you're ever going to see too many of those on store shelves. You know, you're going to see one or two in a GameStop and not too much more. You know, it's just, like I said, it's a premium console. It's just going to be for the hardcore Xbox fans that, like, I need 4K everything. Like, it needs to be just, like, I need everything 4K, 60 frames. Yeah. You know, it's like, that's what I need in my life and nothing more. But everybody else would be like, well, why would I do that? I can just buy the S for like $100+ cheaper.
True, and I mean it is a very pricey console. You know, $499 price point's steep, but
for a console that's been out for I guess 2-ish, 3-ish years now, it's just like if it was like a brand new console, maybe.
But the thing that they're doing though that's kind of nice, that they're kind of respecting gamers and consumers and what they've already paid for is from the get-go, there's going to be about like over 100 games that are going to be available for it, whether that be OG Xbox games to 360s to the Xbox One, you know, but re-enhanced for the system itself, for all the terabytes or teraflops within the system to really utilize it. And then also they have upgrades of those previous games for the system, but they're giving it to players who already paid for a copy for free.
Yeah.
So that's kind of nice.
Nice.
Yeah. So that, I mean, like that's the least they could do. It's like, okay, you're shelling out $500 and you already have like, 14 game collection. Well, these will now play at what your console can do, and you don't have to pay for it twice, which I think that was like the least they could do.
Yeah, and and they're also making it really easy to like transfer all your data from like an old Xbox over as well. They're making it pretty simple in their newest patch, I believe. So they're making it nice for the people that do want to upgrade to the X. There's some things in there where it's just like, beneficial.
Well, I'm excited to see the other edition from the Project Scorpio was the Minecraft edition,
which is for the S, by the way. Not
is it?
Yeah, it's.
Oh, okay.
As far as I'm aware, I think it's just the S.
I thought I saw it for the Xbox One X.
Really?
I swear I did.
I think
we'll fact check later. We'll fact check later.
We don't know things on this show, by the way.
Point is that there is an Xbox console that is skinned as a Minecraft edition, and it looks fantastic. Yeah, it's super cool.
I'm not a Minecraft guy, but
same.
If I were to buy an Xbox, which I might maybe around like Black Friday this year, just to have one,
like an older version.
We'll see what the sales are, but I want that Minecraft edition. I really, really like what they did. They went all out on making that look really pretty.
Yeah.
And I just, like I said, I'm not a Minecraft guy, but that's a really pretty console.
Wow.
I really like there's a controller that doesn't come with it. It's a pink controller, and I'm a big
They had a cool orange one too. I like the orange one. It was like a kind of a burnt sienna look to it.
Yeah.
It's really nice. If you do get that, I'm coming over. We're playing Cuphead.
Oh yeah, dude.
God. They put
I'm
new game.
definitely like I'm stealing Mix Xbox next month to play Cuphead.
Really? Oh, I have to. I mean, they did some new gameplay footage too at Gamescom, and it looked fantastic. I mean, that game looks so beautiful.
Yeah.
The art direction itself. Another game. We're gonna kind of go through this a little quickly because the show's almost over, man. We had a lot to talk about, but another game that has a beautiful art design and actually won RPG, best RPG in show, was Ni no Kuni 2.
Yeah.
It was Ni no Kuni 1 came out for the PS3. Now Ni no Kuni 2 is coming out for PS4, and I think that's just it, right? Yeah, it's an exclusive title, and the art style is very much like if Studio Ghibli made a game.
Well, they did make a game.
Wait, is that actually Studio Ghibli?
Yeah, it's Studio Ghibli.
They actually did that?
Yeah.
Oh, that's why it looks so much like Studio Ghibli.
Yeah, it's. I mean, they
That makes
basically
sense.
they helped on the art direction side. Of
Oh
it.
my
So
God, it's gorgeous. Yeah.
It's Studio Ghibli and Level 5, which Level 5 they make just really pretty games.
Yeah.
Like I've always been a big fan of the Professor Layton games, and it's just like. The art direction in those games is just so pretty, even on like the 3DS.
So you got to play Ni no Kuni 2 at E3,
at
didn't
E3.
you? So what were your first impressions about that? Because honestly, I really don't have much knowledge in like the gameplay stuff.
Yeah,
I never picked up Ni no Kuni 1.
I played such a small vertical slice of that game. It's just basically like a one boss fight, but from what I saw of it, I mean, it's a very, very pretty game. You know, the art direction is just as good as the first one, as far as what I've seen and played of it so far, and the combat's a little different than the first game, but I do enjoy it.
It went from turn-based to real-time action.
Well, no, it's kind of the same combat, but you had like some little kind of minion-ish sort of characters in the first game that helped you fight that you don't necessarily have in this one.
Okay.
But the overall, I mean, I really enjoyed what I played of the second one, and I'm really looking forward to playing it once it comes out.
Is it an immediate buy for you?
Probably.
I mean,
it's
like
coming
just
out,
the art
it's coming
direction
out
alone for me
in,
has really sold me on the idea, and
Yeah.
like it looks a lot of fun. I think the story, it's got such a wide and very diverse cast of like characters and like species and races in the game. It looks really interesting. I can't wait to see it.
And it's coming out in January, which is kind of a slow month for the most part with games. A little less the last couple years, but it's typically a slow month, and so that's something where it's like after Christmas and stuff. And
after the launch of the Xbox One X, which is in November 7th, I believe.
Yeah, pretty much after like all the big games come out in the fall, and then like January is kind of typically a slowish month, and that'll be like a good game to scoop up and play through. So
to get you through the drier beginning of the year.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I mean, Gamescom was a lot of fun. They had a lot of different new gameplays. They were introducing a lot more stuff like that. Not necessarily a lot of huge reveals.
Yeah.
But things that definitely keep me excited for what's to come at the end of the holiday season this year and the beginning of next year. So I'm looking forward to that. But that is the show, man.
Whoop.
Yeah, that was
We did it. We don't even need Javier.
We don't need Javier. Like
I'm
at
glad
first I was
he
kind of
died.
missing him. I was like, what are we gonna do without him? Who's gonna laugh at my puns? But you like picked up that torch real quick, so that's fine with me.
And we got this cat over here.
Yeah, and I'm sure like no one even watched us. They're just like watching this thing scratch itself because it's so goddamn cute. But guys, thank you so much if you were watching us. I appreciate you tuning in. And remember, if you were listening to this on a podcast, either iTunes or Google Play, you can also watch this on YouTube at our YouTube channel at youtube.com/multiplayer. We have a whole slew of stuff for you to look through there, as well as previous episodes that you guys should be watching anyways. And then we also have a Patreon page that would be amazing if you guys checked out, because from there, if you just give us a donation of $1, we give you in return a great thanks and also extra content, which is 2 videos a month. But if not, you can always enjoy our free content here on YouTube or iTunes or Google Play. And also those episodes that we are making Patreon exclusive will be timed just for a week. So a week later after they've been on Patreon, you'll actually be able to see them here as well.
For sure.
So we want to give you as much content as possible and make this show great for you guys and tell you everything that we love about video games and what's to come.
Yeah. And also, if you could just like, subscribe, share with your friends, it does a lot for us.
Yeah.
It helps us to get our show out there.
Sure it does.
You're up there.
Also, you can leave comments too and tell us what you'd like us to talk about, what you'd like to see on the show. We're always open to suggestions, and hey, we want to hear those questions. So go and throw it at us, and I'm sure Nathan will deal with any of the more insulting ones. If you want
Direct all your insults at multiplayer Nath.
Yeah, just please. No, you can also follow Multiplayer on Twitter and on Instagram at GoMultiplayered. We have a lot of all the links that we talk about here on the show. We have them posted up on Twitter, and we also have some behind the scenes and some other like little news, video game news related stuff on Instagram as well. You can follow me personally at Masdorado on Twitter and on Instagram at Guillermo_Dorado. You can follow Zach here at
ZachMatzGanis, ZackMatzGanis.
God, it's getting better and better every time, I swear.
Yeah,
I swear.
buddy.
You can follow Javier when he is here.
And not dead.
Yeah, when he's risen from the grave at Multiplayered Hav. Is it multiplayered or multiplayer Hav?
Multiplayer.
Multiplayer.
Because he's dumb.
Hav. Yeah, I don't know. Obviously, he's not getting the branding right. You can follow the person who did get the branding right, Multiplayered Nath. He's on Twitter, and then you can also follow Mick, who is another one of our camera guys, an amazing dude, a big Xbox guy as well. You can follow him at Instagram and Twitter at MickToTheWood. So.
Let's not forget our boy, DJ CUTMAN.
That's right, buddy. Thank you so much for giving us that music, and you can also listen to more of his 8-bit and chiptune stuff on his website at djcutman.com. Boop. But guys, thank you again so much for checking us out, and we will see you next week, so keep on grinding, and we'll see you at the respawn.
We love you.
Yeah.
On behalf of Multiplayer, Mario would like to send a special thank you to Jaden Lawrence, Arturo Mendera, Mercedan Kroll Pitaru, and Mario Dorado. Thank you so much for watching.